having a conversation with my mother at home. She's going back and forth. And I don't remember what started it, but I said, I'm going to be a Marine. And
Hello, peeps. Welcome back. This is The Real Charlemagne on Over and Out Veterans Podcast. I know it's been a while. As always, you can follow me on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find me. And
all the things.
look, and don't forget to follow my other podcast, which is Brick City Show on all platforms as well. And today we have a former Marine. I look at going by Jay Cameron, and hailing from us from the West Coast, but living on the East Coast now. So how you doing?
I'm bi-coastal.
Bi-coastal. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes, a bi-coastal.
So how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Good. So I know before we actually got on air, we had a little conversation about the stigma of being a Marine. You know what I mean?
Stigma.
So let's talk about how did you end up being mentally prepared or transition and say, hey, I want to go be a Marine. What made you go to Marines out of all the branches of the service?
That's amazing. I'm so glad you asked because I love this story myself personally. Okay. I love this story. 5th grade, elementary, we set alphabetical order. So I was always with the same cats all the time. The Campbells. My last name is Cameron, so I always sat next to Joshua and Brian Campbell. Well, one day Joshua was late to school. So when he got there, where you been? In 5th grade, where you been? He said, my dad took me to see the Marines. Do you know who the Marines are? I said, no. He said, they're a part of the military. They're the best part of the military. No shade. I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm just telling the story.
Hey, go ahead. I'll let you have
they're the best part of the military. I'm like, oh, okay. He said, they're called devil dogs. I said, really? He said, because they fight like dogs possessed by the devil. I'm in. I'm in. 5th grade. I don't know. That was it. I was in. Wow. Fast forward many years later, I'm 14, having a conversation with my mother at home. She's going back and forth. And I don't remember what started it, but I said, I'm going to be a Marine. And now as a mother, right, and being much older, I get it now. Comes over, looks me in my face. She was like, you know, your father's a Marine. No, why would I know that? Why would I know that? And then she kind of disappeared. And like, I get it now. I get it now, right? Because he was not a part of my life growing up. So she was left, like a single mother. We would speak from time to time on the phone, but we didn't have a relationship.
Gotcha.
I knew about one of the, phases of his life, one of his careers, but I didn't know about his Marine Corps career. So to have this little girl saying she wants to be a Marine out of the blue, right?
Right.
So that's in like Los Angeles, California. Well, some things happened with my mother. I ended up moving to Washington, D.C. Now, this is the environment to be in if you want to be in any branch of the military, honestly.
Right.
So I started to develop a relationship with the recruiters in my area in Northwest D.C. And I said, I'm going to be a Marine. I'm going to be a Marine. And they were like, of course you are.
Right.
Serious.
Wow.
Serious. And I meant that. And that's what I did. And that's what I did. So,
wow. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, 5th grade, man.
5th grade. It was the dogs possessed by the devil, which is not the way to the cross by any means.
Right.
But I was in. I was in.
But that's an excellent story, to be intrigued like that, I wish I had to tell you the same type of story, but I didn't. But
and that's the thing, like we all have different stories, but they're all the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
all
yeah.
the same, a
It's
little
a
different.
rhyme and reason behind it,
Absolutely.
And but yeah, that's wild. So all right, so you're in the Marines now.
I'm in the Marine.
How was that um once you got there and the little devil dog wore off like I'm here now. How did that make you feel?
I was
Or did
extremely
it? Did it?
motivated. Oh, I was
Okay.
extremely motivated. And
Okay.
it's so interesting because a lot of people think the Marine Corps is boot camp because that's
Hmm.
what's advertised or that's what's spoken about most.
Right.
Boot camp, right?
Hmm.
Um, I was totally motivated. I was totally prepared. I was mentally prepared.
Hmm.
I had no fear. That's
Yeah.
not true. The greatest fear was not actually making it, not
Hmm.
accomplishing what I set out to accomplish. That was the greatest fear.
Right.
But I didn't have any of the other concerns that a lot of my sisters had
Hmm.
going into or falling in onto the yellow footprints at Paris Island.
Yeah.
I loved it. And in
Hmm.
retrospect, it was the best time of my life, recruit training. And I was one of the first series to actually do the Crucible. So I was like one of
Hmm.
the first Crucible Marines.
Okay.
Um, that was challenging without a shadow of a doubt. It was challenging, but
Right.
I loved it. That's really when you got into the team building and the
Hmm.
camaraderie. And let's see how much of this training these girls or these recruits, really got.
Got you.
And we performed, and it was the best. And then school, MOS school, and
Hmm.
then the fleet, and then the
Right.
fleet. And everyone's experience is different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mine was a little bit different than what I expected,
Hmm.
but I was, taking it all in, right?
Right. Right.
And I loved it. I loved it. I really did. Being
Yeah.
a Marine, being
Just
around
for
Marines.
just for the audience, where some places that you actually were stationed
Camp
during your
Pendleton.
time in? Okay.
Yeah. So Camp Devil Dog at Lejeune
Okay.
for Marine combat training.
Okay.
And then out in the fleet, I was at Camp Pendleton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
First
Cool. Cool.
Marines.
Got you. So how
Yeah.
long did you serve? How long did you serve?
4 years. Served 4 years.
Got you.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the story, why you transitioned out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share that with the audience or not. But
Oh yeah. No,
yeah,
so I ended my enlistment ended up being only 4 years because I got hurt.
mhm,
Broken foot. They couldn't put Humpty back together again.
right,
Back strain, cervical, neck
right.
sprain. So that 4 years was that.
Mhm,
And as I transitioned out, unknowingly, not understanding the connection between active duty and the Department of Veterans Affairs,
right.
I knew that I was getting out medically because they
Mhm,
couldn't, I couldn't perform up to the standard anymore with the challenges that I had.
right.
Got out that way, went right into the veteran system. Yeah,
Got you.
without a lot of pomp and circumstance there.
Got you. Got you. So what year was this around when you?
This is the very beginning of 2000.
Okay, so
The
before
very
9/11.
beginning,
So before
January.
9/11.
Yep.
Okay, before
Yeah.
9/11.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Golly, yeah, I remember those times. I was still in there
Yeah.
during that time. So, but yeah, so once you transitioning out, how how was that mentally? Because you was
Devastating.
driven from the fifth grade to saying, "Hey, this is you done it." Did you feel a moment of that you didn't complete something that you started? How did
Oh,
that
I
make
was
you feel?
pissed. I
Yeah,
was
how did?
pissed. I was livid. I
Mhm.
was beside myself. I was disappointed. I was broken
Wow.
because the Marine Corps was like the love of my life. It really was.
Okay.
And at the same time, the unit that I was a part of, like I said, it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. It wasn't what I dreamed of. It was a totally
Mhm.
different experience than a lot of the my sisters, I call them, from 4010. That was my platoon,
Hmm.
4th Battalion. That's back when it was only girls at 4th Battalion at Paris Island.
Okay.
Some of them were stationed at Air Force bases, living real cush. PT was, once a week going to the gym,
Right,
right? I'm like,
right.
what kind of Marine Corps experience is that?
Wow.
I had a sister that was stationed at El Toro.
Oh
Talk
wow.
about a blast from the past.
Yeah.
just different experiences. So as much as I was brokenhearted about it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't everything that I thought it would be, my experience. And so,
Right.
I mean, I have to suck it up.
Right.
You know, I'm still a leatherneck. I'm still a 200. I'm still all these
Yeah.
things.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just time to transition and carry that same type of motivation and intestinal fortitude out into the civilian world. Yuck. Um, I had things to
Yeah, it's
do.
a
Yeah,
transition.
I
The
had
order,
things to do.
I think the order of the discipline of the military and then coming back to the civilian world, it's like, what is going on out here? You know what I mean?
Twilight zone for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I was, I was talking to a kid the other day. He was in the gym, and he had on some army shorts, and I was like, I said, you been in the military? Your parents? He was like, yeah, I served 4 years. I said, so what's your plan now? Oh, I'm going back.
Going back.
He was like, I didn't realize how good I had it when I was there, and then when I got out, he was just like, I can't do it out here. He said, so he was in the gym working out, so he'd get ready for his
right.
Because he has to do the school. He's reclassifying. He's choosing another MOS, but to go back to school, and he's just like, man, I'm ready to go tomorrow. He was like, but I have to wait a couple of months. But yeah, it's a transition for a lot of people, and a lot of people, a lot of vets mask it through different things and act in a certain way. But it's tough for all of us.
Tough.
It's tough for all of us, no matter what branch.
It's tough.
Yeah, I think some civilians don't understand because of the culture and things of that nature that we experienced as military. Because I trained with Marines several times out in California. Look, Camp Wilson, which was hell.
Yes, that's right. That's
hell
right.
on earth, but 29 Palms, and then we was down at Yuma.
The best.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was down there when the Chinook crashed. Not the Chinook, the Osprey crashed.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking
about.
Yeah,
and they were actually, we was set up in the top, and they were set up right beside us, and we came back from the field. It was like, where they at? And it was like, they're gone. So, and I was like, well, they went back. They was like, no,
right.
It was a horrible accident today. And
right, no, it's
like this is well before social media. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely the camaraderie between all the branches. Everybody. It says they're the best, but the camaraderie, once at the end of the day, everybody's going to form together, like Voltron, and the
Voltron.
Yep, complete dimension.
I love that. I love that.
But yeah. So back to you. So this transition period. You said you came out with the medical and all that, and so you're transitioning to the veteran affairs.
Mm-hmm.
How was that transition?
Had no idea it was happening.
Okay.
Had no idea it was happening. One day I receive a letter in the mail saying that I'm rated at 40%.
Okay.
Service-connected disability. And I'm like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that means. I was 22 years old.
Okay.
And it's not like there was a lot of formal information given during the, transition out. But I think it was maybe like $436 a month at the time. Okay. And so I was like, yes, I don't know what it means, but I'll take it.
Right.
I'm in pain. My neck, my back, literally. My neck and my back.
Right.
My foot, all the things. But, we've spoke about that. That's a part of the culture. Pain is fear leaving the body. Pain is weakness leaving the body. And I loved it. And I sucked it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay.
Right.
And still young, at 22, not understanding, you're only going to be able to suck this up for so long, Cameron. You're going to, mature in age, and your conditions are going to mature as well,
Right.
But it was super challenging. I was really fortunate to get into a career that lasted for 20 years shortly after getting out. When I was in the Marine Corps, I went to school for hospitality, and I wanted to manage hotels and resorts.
Oh,
that was my thing. And so I was able to use that education and apply it to multifamily housing, as it were.
Oh,
So yeah, so I did multifamily housing for 20 years. Just
okay.
recently transitioned out of that career into software to
Gotcha.
support multifamily housing, but still.
Yeah.
Um, and that just really put like civilians in my face. And I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, if only I could go, if I only I could go back,
Right, 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 right.
to Camp Pendleton or wherever for that
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
Because
Can
that was
imagine.
insanity. That was insanity. I remember like the first young lady that I tried to lease an apartment to, she was in the entertainment business in Las Vegas, as it were. Wink, wink. So her application came back denied immediately.
Right.
So I let her know as softly as I could. I'm just learning the job, and she was very okay. No, no, it's okay, no problem. She was very timid, right? So I'm like, okay. She leaves, and I go to the back, to report to my boss, my supervisor, what happened.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, one of the girls I work with is, Cameron, there's somebody here to see you. I walk out. It's this big guy,
Mhm.
and he had some words for me
Mm.
about why I didn't give his, an apartment.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I could tell by his tone, by then I'd already stepped back and I'm in my fighting stance because
Right.
the way he came at me was all wrong. It was
Right.
all wrong. And I'm salty. I'm
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
salty.
Right.
So we're getting ready to go at it. That's how
Mhm.
I felt. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I
Right.
know that the young lady I worked with is like, I know she's a Marine or used to be a Marine, but why is she standing there instead of running or calling me?
Right. 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 Right.
If that's not the spirit, run.
Right.
Like
Yeah. For what?
I'm in
Yeah.
my space. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And this
Right.
guy just told me that he would do such and such with my such and such if I didn't give this girl an apartment. And
Wow.
so as I'm ready, to fire on him, my supervisor comes running from the back, call the police, Cameron, no. She gets between us and I'm
Mhm.
ready.
Yeah.
And at the time I was married and my husband was a Marine as well.
Mhm.
And when I say was, that doesn't feel right to me, but I'm trying to paint a
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
We're both Marines. He's no longer
Uh-huh.
active.
Uh-huh.
And he's right across the way because I live at the apartment I
Oh,
work.
got you. Mhm.
For real?
Yeah.
You picked the wrong girl today.
Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
ready. Ooh, I'm salty and I'm ready.
Mhm.
So then I found out how civilians work things out,
Right.
in a
Right.
nice,
Right. Right.
they don't fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't go, they don't do that. So I
Right.
had to adapt, um, and it's crazy. I remember after he walked out, I turn around and I see one of the trash cans is full. And that's like unacceptable, like in the Marine. We keep
Right.
things clean and tight. This trash
Exactly.
can is full. You freaking nasty. I'm going up. Freaking nasty. This
Ah,
how
yeah.
freaking dare him? I was on one, Charlemagne. I was
Right.
on one. But
Wow.
I ended up, I didn't know. Now, this I didn't know. I'd been called to go to the VA for a CMP exam. I didn't know what that was, but
Okay.
it all made sense to me
Mhm.
here of recent.
For some of the vets, what is a CMP?
Oh, that is your compensation and pension examination.
Okay.
And it's very, very important. Okay. It's very important. And
Now, did that letter come certified or it just came regular? How did that letter
you know
come?
what? I honestly
You don't
could not
remember?
tell you. At
Okay.
this point, I honestly couldn't tell you. It was all a blur. What's interesting is it happened in May.
Mhm.
I was pregnant with my second child who was born in July. So I was a good 8 months pregnant.
Mhm.
And he was a big boy. So I was big as a house. Like all this
Mhm.
came back to me over this past year.
Right.
And I didn't realize what it was, but I remember I went in for my CMP, big as a house.
Mhm.
And now it makes sense. When I walked in the room, or when the examiner walked in the room, I remember him looking like, the heck am I supposed to do with this? Right? I didn't know I was cheating I didn't know how that worked, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So he did a little once over. I don't even think he touched me, Charlemagne. I don't even think he touched me.
Wow.
But that's how that 40% came about. It was all about talking about
Mhm.
what kind of pain I was in and what was going on. So my neck and my back, okay. I had my appendix removed when I was active duty.
Okay.
And It wasn't cute. It was back when they used to.
Yeah.
Okay. Not the little incisions that some people get now.
Stab and jab. Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that. He was like, well, how big is the scar? I'm like, I don't know. It's big.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's right here. The scar on my foot from surgery, them trying to, get it back together. That's how that 40% came about.
Okay.
Didn't know that. But we didn't do any of the flexation or, the bending and how far can you move and what is your neck, like none of that.
Right.
And so I know now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how many veterans don't understand the importance of this examination? I feel like a lot of veteran content creators on YouTube now are really talking about it. Like it's important. You have to show up, first of all. You have to show up.
Yeah.
And when you go in there, it's about business, because this is really what can make or break your claim, or this is really what can set you back or propel you to what you actually rate and what you deserve. I had no idea. I had no idea. Nobody told me anything. I just went in there. And then here we are all these years later, all those conditions that I was rated for, I have secondaries for all of those conditions.
Right.
That's how it works. The little ditty that we learn when we're young about the hip bone connected to the knee bone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It's not for fun. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a real thing. So I think it's really important that we encourage Marines, soldiers, airmen, seamen, all of the people, all of the things, all the branches, all of the veterans, to be educated on this topic, because oftentimes there is a condition, there is an issue, there is a disease, there is a something related to your service.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you push, you say you went to, you had a 40%. So pushing how many years later did you push to increase that 40% once you understood how the system worked?
20
years.
20 years.
So
I had no idea.
Cost of living, you probably was like, oh, well, I'm still getting what? 600. You know what I'm saying?
I think I was at 6.
600, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Well, still. Question, was it a thing of, okay, well, I'm getting money, I'm getting compensated, I'm not going to bother it, or was just lack of knowledge? What was the reason for you not to try to increase your rating?
A combination.
Okay.
And here's the truth. And I know a lot of veterans can relate to this.
Okay.
Like I said, it only took a little while before I got into the private sector and started working. And then shortly thereafter, it was time to set it off. People were flying, planes into our buildings and truly coming for us. And so I'm already angry that I cannot participate in the get down. Okay.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? I've got brothers and sisters, and I'm talking about all of us when I say that. I've got brothers and sisters right now. They're going to get over there, and then they're going to be coming back right away. And they're going to need these resources. Talking about the veterans resources, the Department of Veterans Affairs resources. They're going to need those resources more than I need them right now. Right? Praise the Lord. Like, honestly, that's really where I was. They're going to need it more than me. I can continue to suck this up, right? I'll continue to apply ice and heat. I'll continue to get massage. I'll go find, an acupuncturist, all the things. But right now, that time of garrison is in the past, and now we're rocking and rolling. And my brothers and sisters are going to need these services. They're going to need these resources.
Right.
So that's what I did. I sucked it up. Fast forward, and I think maybe 5 years ago is when I started really feeling that breakdown happening in my body.
Okay.
My knees started going.
Okay.
And I'm 45 now, but that whole twerking thing was really big. Okay. And
okay.
I wanted to try.
Right.
That's all it was. No twerking here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Be creative with whatever. So
Okay.
I feel away about that.
Mhm.
I'm starting to experience numbness, particularly on the right side of my face. And I remember one day thinking, I'm having a freaking stroke. You know, and like,
Wow.
what the fudge?
Mhm.
So I, jump up and run to the hospital. Long story short, that cervical spine challenge is now, I've got radiculopathy.
Mm.
And that's why my face down to my fingertips are numb and the pin prickly sensation and the muscle spasms. What in the heck? One day I get a phone call from one of my sisters that I was active duty with, hadn't heard from her in years. And we're talking, catching up. We have a lot to catch up on.
Mhm.
She tells me she's like 100% disabled.
Mhm.
What? Like, what do you mean you're 100%
Right, right, right.
disabled? Oh my gosh, are you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay?
Like, so you're thinking like she's in a wheelchair, she's bedridden.
I just remembered how she was when I
Okay,
left.
okay.
And that's
Yeah,
one of the things we talked about too, that stigma
yeah,
about
yeah.
what a
Right.
disabled veteran looks like too,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But I just remember she loved to dance. She was always,
Mhm.
as soon as we fell out of formation, she was dancing. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm like, what happened? Well, I remember she had a hypothyroid
Mhm.
condition that came up while she was active duty. So we're talking, she was like, Cameron, you should be like, I'm listening to you. And we would FaceTime and she's like, I see you and moving and all that stuff, that you had all those years ago, that it's gotten worse. Like, sis, you need to file a new claim.
Mhm.
You need to file a new claim. No. You know me. I'm good. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. No, I mean, and she stayed on me, but in a loving way, not ever
Look,
like
typical veteran
right.
behavior. Yeah.
She encouraged me. And then she said to me one day, Cameron, you got to go on YouTube and you got to pull up Combat Craig.
Mhm.
And so I did.
Mhm.
And that was the motivation that I needed.
Mhm.
I started studying like a freaking law student. Okay. Because that's what it is for a lot of people who don't know that as well. It's totally legal. Started studying and I'm like, oh, wow. And I realized, dang, like I'm really messed up, and it's all legit.
Mhm.
So that was April when I filed my intent to file a claim, which is VA form 21-0966.
Mhm.
Muy importante for all of our Spanish speaking brothers and sisters. Muy importante. I jumped online, found it, filled it out, submitted it.
Okay.
Via fax. Okay. Because that like I had to get up and go to Office Max to send a fax.
Right.
And I did that.
Okay.
And that got the ball rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they came back,
my secondaries. Yeah.
So when they came back, were you at 100% or did they just give you what was your rate at that point?
They played games with your girl. They played games with your girl.
Okay.
Oof. Came back at 70.
Okay.
But I knew, Charlamagne, like I said, I studied like a maniac. Okay. Like no sleep. I was really into it because with my father being a Marine, he's a Vietnam Marine. And so I knew that the stereotype, the information that's out there is that the VA is not for us. It's really not. Even though it's got our name, it's not really for us. But my thing was, that can't be true.
Yeah.
That can't be true. So I'm going to learn everything and I'm going to do everything they say do in order to properly submit my claim and get the results that I actually rate. I'm going to do everything the way they say do it.
Gotcha.
And I know I did that. Everything from Nexus letters, DBQs, buddy letters.
What's a DBQ?
Oh, yes.
Look. Some of the vets, they're not familiar with these acronyms. Man.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's a questionnaire. It's a disability questionnaire.
Okay.
And there was a time, from what I understand, where they were not available, particularly specifically during the thick of the pandemic.
Gotcha.
It shut that whole thing down. They're in a PDF form. You can, at this point, just Google VA DBQ, and then for whatever your issue is. So depression, and it'll pop up.
Okay.
You can put in migraines, and one will pop up for that.
Okay.
Foot, arm, whatever.
Got you.
Up. And then it's a long, typically like a legal size form.
Okay.
And if you have a doctor who's down, you can take it to them and they can fill it out for you.
Got you.
That's also the form that they use in that CNP exam. So it's almost like a cheat sheet. If you don't have a doctor, you can download this, print it out, whatever, and you can study it, because this is exactly what the examiner is going to ask you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Had imaging, MRIs, X-ray. I had all the things. I put together flawless package. I must say so myself, okay, on my Jay-Z.
Look, you toot your own horn, huh?
If I do say so myself.
Okay.
I mean, it was flawless, and I knew it, and I freaking knew it.
Yeah.
So I submitted in June.
Okay.
July comes and goes. August comes and goes. September comes, and I'm calling the VA weekly. Yes, I was that girl. I'm making sure everybody's on their job. I'm on mine. What are y'all doing?
Right.
Nothing is the answer. Finally, oh yeah. Whoever answered the phone was like, oh yeah, that claim is complete. It's complete. What does it say? They emailed it over to me right away. What? They had denied everything I'd claimed. So how did I get from 40 to 70? My CNP examiner was a good one. She was a good one. Not a veteran, but she was very good in the exam, and she drilled down on things. So she was like, wait a minute, if you have numbness from your face down to your feet, that's not just radiculopathy. Have you had an X-ray on your lumbar spine? No.
Okay.
She said, do you mind going to get an X-ray? And I'm just thinking, this is going to slow up the freaking process. She said, it's right around the corner. No, it's literally right around the corner.
Okay.
If you can go today, go today.
Right.
I went over there. They took the X-ray. They had that X-ray back to her that day. She submitted my stuff the next day. She was on it.
Oh, wow.
She was on it. I went from 40 to 70 based off of what she found.
Okay.
I did have degenerative disc disease in my lumbar. That's what was causing the sciatica.
Okay.
So they rated me for that.
Okay.
Denied the things that I'd claimed.
Wow.
Hello, higher level review the next day. And that's exactly what I did. Wrong. And I put on there exactly what it was, sent it off. That's September, October goes by, November comes back 90%.
Wow.
That's not right. Still, you're missing something. But now I'm really, really pissed now. I'm beside myself. And I'm just like, they have the most incompetent people working. Like, how do you go? Really?
Yeah.
Turned right back around. 100%.
Wow.
A month later.
Right
back around.
Wow.
Permanent and total.
So how long total was it from the 70 to the 100? Wow.
From the day I filed.
From the day you filed. Wow, 11 months.
11 months.
Wow.
11 months.
Wow.
With two appeals. I did the higher level and then turned around and did the supplemental. And it's interesting, and I don't know how many veterans have seen this, where they actually say on that supplemental, our bad. Like, that's our bad.
Wow.
We
Oversight.
clearly made a mistake. We clearly made a mistake.
Get out of here.
Seriously. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, seeing that verbiage made me feel better about what I'd done. You know what I mean? About the claim that I did, because my whole thing was, if I do this claim the right way and I get the results that I rate and that I'm going after, I'll be able to share this information with other veterans and help other veterans go through the same process.
Gotcha.
Secondary conditions are a real thing.
Yeah.
A lot of us are not hip to them.
No, no.
And once you already have service connection established, it takes time and patience,
right?
But it's a real thing. So
yeah. And unfortunately, they passed legislation a few months ago. Veterans have a year from their ETS or PCS date, or whatever, to file. And I'm like, what if it's something like you said that's secondary that you don't even know happened while you was in, and then
right.
I'm like, and like you said, but then in the flip side of that, it's going to make some people forge things and just make things up, just to try to do some stuff. So, but yeah, so I hate that they're trying to push that narrative on the new vets, the young vets.
Yeah.
And like I said, we already been conditioned, no pain, no gain, nothing, so it's like you just adjust and adapt. That's what we've been forced to think. And it's like, you're like, okay, well, now what? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I got to suffer through this and like you said, misinformation is a huge thing in all branches of service. The misinformation of you're entitled to this, you're entitled to that, but you got to do a little work to get that entitlement.
You really do. And we talked about that. Like the VA home loan is like the most popular benefit that people know about, and almost as if the road stops there. But there's so many benefits.
Yeah. I mean, my kids took advantage of it by being in North Carolina. They went to school for free. And things like that. They got a stipend every month. It's just amazing. Just little things like that. And
it helps. It really does.
Just don't take advantage of it. But so I know you mentioned helping veterans. So how do you plan to help veterans, and how are you become an advocate for vets? And like I said, look, that was my thing. I that's why I started this podcast, because I want to have people like yourself and others to share their stories, because a lot of times our stories are not the same, but they're very similar.
Very similar. We have a common thread.
So you have a common thread. So I'm like, I said, I want to get it out to all veterans, but especially brown vets, to help people of color.
Right.
I said nothing against, anyone else, but, sometimes in our community, we're misinformed, and then sometimes we don't even want to seek the real information.
That part.
We just take somebody's word for it, they've been through it, and it's just like with us, we got the Vietnam, which was your father, during the era of my father. And then you got Saudi, Panama stuff. You had so many different things in there. Like I said, I'm post 9/11 vet now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you have all these different things, and things change.
They do.
Throughout the years, you know what I'm saying?
They do.
Because it's like, the GI Bill. It was like the GI Bill was now you got a post 9/11 GI Bill.
That's right.
Forever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I'm like, there's so many things change. So you got to stay abreast of what's changing. So something that might not have been true in 1970 doesn't mean it's not true in 1980. You know what I'm saying? And then 80 from 90, you know what I'm saying?
We're seeing that now, like with the PACT Act.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
huge.
just like you can't take the information that someone says and just that's the end all. You gotta research it for yourself. I'm glad you did, and receiving your 100%. That's a blessing and a testament to you guys out there, ladies, and whatever you say you are. Hey, you entitled. Just stay the course. And
stay the course, indeed.
Stay the course. But any positive information you want to share before we get away from it?
First of all, thank you. Often, like I said, oftentimes I feel like there are really three mentalities when it comes to veterans and getting the benefits and compensation that they rate. The one like me who's like, no, I'll fall back. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. They need it more than I do. The ones who just don't, the ones who feel like it's a welfare check. And I've heard that. And I'm like, wait, what? That's absurd. That's
Yeah,
absurd. How is it,
I've heard that too.
right? And then those of us who are like, no, I know what I rate.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm getting it.
Right.
For all the veterans and or family, friends, loved ones of veterans, if you know that, your veteran has a service-connected disability, and again, back to that stigma, disability doesn't necessarily mean you're an amputee or wheelchair bound or have, like traumatic brain injuries. Charlemagne and I are veterans, disabled veterans. And, when we walk down the street, you wouldn't, do we fit whatever picture you have in your mind of a
Right.
disabled veteran?
Yeah.
Come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, and
Yeah.
creeds, and that's the truth.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you have a veteran in your life who is not getting the benefits and compensation that he or she rates, then encourage them the same way my sister encouraged me, right? Lovingly, but she was consistent. She was consistent in her loving encouragement.
That's good.
And it really does all start, like I said. Oh, what was that? What was that? Anyway, it really does start with that intent to file, because that's actually what your back pay is predicated on. Okay. It's not when you started feeling, it started back in 18. No, it starts on the day that the VA receives that intent to file form. Again, it's VA form 21-0966. And it's very simple. I'm looking at it. It doesn't ask you what you're filing for. It doesn't ask you any of that. It's your name, your social security number, of course, your address, and a signature. That's all you have. That's all you have to file. And you can, if you don't have access to a computer or the internet, Wi-Fi, whatever, all the things, you can run into your closest VA hospital, and they're in like every major city.
Yeah.
Run in there and ask for the form, fill it out right there. You know what I mean? And get it off, because that's how it starts, honestly. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone or share too much. There's so much. There's so much to share, so much to say. But that's where it begins, honestly. And maybe even before that, getting the veteran to bite down on the fact that they do rate it. It is not welfare. If the military was a corporation like Apple or frickin' whatever, okay, Tesla, whatever, it would have been a part of your benefit package, when you started. That's how it would have been pitched. Okay. So it's not a welfare check. It's something that you rate. And so helping your veteran get out of that mindset, and or helping them to put those stigmas. I saw they did the Vietnam War veterans. They're not going to do anything for me. They don't care about me.
Right.
We care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We care.
So, we wouldn't be here.
Okay.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't care.
Yeah, I think that's the first step, honestly.
Yeah. And piggybacking off of what you just said, even if you don't have a VA hospital close by, your county should have a rep that handles VA benefits. So I lived in a rural county, Martin County. Shout out to y'all. When I first got out of the military, and the closest VA hospital at the time was Durham, North Carolina. So that was an hour 45 away. But I stayed close contact with the rep in that county, because anything was going on, she would keep me, I'll just peek my head in there and say, hey, you heard anything new? What's this? Da, da, da. Or I refer vets to them, and now we have a CBOC here in Greenville. It's a miniature hospital of the Durham VA.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that, like you said, that's a resource as well. But every county, if you go to your county office, they're going to point you to whoever does their VA representation, and a lot of times the state actually has a representative, a VSO office, veteran service rep officer in each county as well. So reach out, and typically everyone has a smartphone. I know some of the vets are hard-headed. Got the look, still had a flip phone.
The flip.
Look, I seen somebody with a bag phone. I was like, oh my God.
We
I
love
don't
that.
even know. I don't
We
even know
love to see it.
Look, who do you have service with? But
You have service.
but yeah, so you guys definitely listen. I appreciate you, Cameron,
Thank
coming
you.
on. Look, I said I got to give a shout out to Jay for introducing us and saying, saying he's a good person. He's definitely a man of his word.
He is.
Out there in Alamance. I told him, I said, man, you a good dude. That ride every day. I couldn't do it.
He is. He is the MVP.
Yeah.
He
But
really is.
but I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your story. And like I said, we're not going to reach the masses, but one vet at a time, we're going to help them out. We're going to help them out and get them there where they need to be. And,
absolutely.
And like I said, once again, thank you, and stay encouraged. Sorry for your loss. I know you mentioned your grandmother, and prayers to your family.
Thank you.
And everything, and like I said, be encouraged. And we'll be in touch. I'm gonna have to have you on again. We're gonna do a follow-up.
I love that.
Because like I said, I want to see how many vets you have helped in the last, since we talked.
We'll see.
I'm quite sure. Yeah, I'm quite sure. But until next time, people, this is Charlemagne, Over and Out Veteran Podcast. You could go to my website. It's overandoutvp.com. Like I said, you can follow me on all platforms, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of the above. And Over and Out Veteran Podcast. Until next time, people, talk to you soon. Holla.